Uncle Unlimited.
Hello YouTube. So I wanted to talk about this t-shirt. My sister got this for me and I'm actually making some merch for Stop the World, my movement that I've created an app around, stoptheworld.app, green light. And this is a really cool t-shirt, right? It was made, I think, by Bono's team. I think red is part of his thing, and they made various slogans with red in brackets. I think inspired was one as well. This is board. And it sort of raised money for supporting, I think it was made in Africa as well, sustainable factories where people are paid fair wage, and is basically to raise money for antiviral drugs for support of AIDS in Africa, people suffering from AIDS. I think it's an AIDS charity movement. And this t-shirt was so nice, and my sister bought it for me. It was kind of really cool. It's like really well made, and it's just lasted a really long time, and it's so comfortable. So something that's ethical but also comfortable is fantastic, isn't it? So I'm thinking of doing something like that. So I've created this. I've got it here actually. Let's have a look. Created this t-shirt for Stop the World, and it's raw cotton. So it's a really interesting look, and it's on sale at the moment on my website. And it's really just plainly says Stop the World. It's kind of cool, right? But it's like, if you look at this is what raw cotton is. You've got all these kind of bits and stuff on the t-shirt. It's just something different. I mean, I think it looks cool, looks different. May not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's a well-known t-shirt brand. And this is like the test version, so I'm going to test out with a few people. But if you go to stoptheworld.app and merch, you'll find the link. If you want to support the movement, you can buy a t-shirt. Currently, that's the only one, but I'm going to maybe do a few more different versions. So yeah, that's the sponsor of today's video. Stop the World.app is an app I created to help people relax, and it's free. So go and check it out. Let me just fix the background. Give me a second. I was watching two other peaceful creators that I came across. One channel is Gooby and Dooby. It's about a guy who's there with his dog. I think the dog is called Dooby. And it's just an ex-neurosurgeon who's now hanging out in wilderness and the trees and lakes and nature. And he's kind of trying to sort of recharge himself, I guess, after a really stressful life as a doctor that he's quit. And there's another guy who sort of started similarly to him a few years back, and he was called the Functional Melancholic. He's also a very peaceful guy. I've not come across his channel much before, but he seems a very peaceful guy too. And they've just done a collaboration video, which I've been watching. So I would go and check it out. And they talk about how they got started on YouTube. So that's the sort of title of the video. And they discuss their paths on how they became YouTube creators and highlight the importance of, acceptance and living in the moment. And I think he was a doctor and he started creating after he burned out, and the other guy was a musician and he started creating. So music and medicine into content as a form of self-therapy and connection, which I can kind of relate to. I've been doing a lot of self-work recently, and I've written a coaching book recently, and I released that without really telling very many people. It's called Forge of the Soul, and I wrote it in a kind of unique way. Haven't really marketed it. And I've written another smaller book called The Power of Stillness, and that's more of a book for the Stop the World kind of movement. But if you go to book.forgeofthesoul.com, you'll find the other book. And I think there is a link to the book under books at stoptheworld.app as well. If you go to the books section, you can see my book. My Forge of the Soul book should be there also. So if you want to buy it and go and support us, please do. But yeah, this Gooby and Dooby and the melancholic, functioning melancholic guy, very peaceful conversation. They talk about self-therapy, connection, and the unexpected kind of success of their channels. And they really appreciate, the stuff they talk about, addressing, their feelings, their relatedness, and societal taboos, how they find their families probably a little bit sort of strange once they decided to be YouTubers. I think a lot of YouTubers, when they start, families think it's kind of strange till they become successful. Ironically, it's the number one career that young people want to do. So interesting. Maybe it's becoming more acceptable these days as a career. And the conversation kind of ended with them sort of sharing appreciation for their community and, the freedom they've got from moving away from their kind of standard life plans, That's kind of the summary, really. And I guess a lot of, a lot of these kind of related kind ofness creators are becoming more popular. And I guess it's just the way of speaking and being. And it's interesting, and I find they're really good. They're sort of in line with what we do at Stop the World, in that we're trying to just have peace, stop the world's craziness for a bit and have peace and silence. And it's really good to pause and reflect and meditate and be at peace, to bring some peace into your mind, because the world is such that can be very stressful and people are getting very anxious. All the time I see around me people are under stress, and it's a concern, and it's slightly sort of sad as well, that people aren't pulling out access to tools that can help them sort of deal with things. Even having the tools, can be stressful. I have tools, I'm a coach, and even I have trouble sometimes to stopping the world's noise, And they also talk about nature and how it's really important, like I do when I go for my walks around the lake, as you saw in my first video. And I've always believed, as well as I've written in my Forge of the Soul, there's a section called Superpowers, and in there I talk about the Japanese art of forest bathing, it translates to, where Japanese people go out into the forest to re-energize themselves, and studies have been done to actually say that people do get energy from being with nature and trees. It's scientifically proven that it actually helps your stress levels and helps you to relax. It's healing, and so by creating videos in this healing context, they're kind of helping others to get into nature and alleviate their suffering also, if they are suffering from anything, stress, mental health, stuff like that. So I think, if you have time, go and watch that video, Gooby and Dooby, and the functional, melancholic. And ironically, they did in this video, they do also say they were inspired by the 50-year-old Japanese man channel for their sort of raw approach to sharing feelings and, struggles. So go and check that channel out too. Simply talking to camera about your struggles is really interesting. And I was dealing with stuff a few years ago, and I did it myself. I shared with the world, and then I cut to not really myself to camera. I did it a few times on another channel, and then I had overlays as well. I think I created 100 videos of vlogs where I talked about life, and then I deleted all the videos. And this channel, I'm not looking to do that. This channel I'm looking to continue with. So nature is so important for managing stress levels, supporting your mental health, and this is a classic example of utilizing it, as well as the importance of sharing with others, the importance of talking to people. Don't be alone. If you do have stuff you're dealing with, go out and please share. There's lots of organizations that you can go and speak to. If you're seriously dealing with serious stuff, you can always pick up the phone and call Samaritans who are there to help you. They're there 24/7 to listen to people if you are dealing with stuff in life. And there are various other organizations you can too. There are community groups. You have people like Mind you can talk to. And I know life is difficult for a lot of people at the moment. And I think if you are dealing with stuff, please reach out and get help, get support. I just wanted to share that and talk about the t-shirt and talk about the t-shirts we're going to make. I have another community to build tech and bringing tech founders together. And I even created this kind of old school group sort of name for this. I think it was many, many years ago I created this in the channel. And I haven't done anything with it, but I created a retro t-shirt of it. And the t-shirt arrived, but I've not unboxed the t-shirt yet. So maybe we'll unbox the t-shirt on another episode or later in this episode, perhaps, as our unboxing video. Unboxing a t-shirt. But yeah, that's that channel's called Lean Light Bulb. It's all about using lean methodology to build startups, encouraging first principles thinking. That's also in my book. And I used first principles to write the book. A lot of people attribute that to Elon Musk. But if you look further, you'll see the first principles actually came from Aristotle, the famous Greek dude, which as I mentioned in my book. And Lean Light Bulb is all about first principles, using lean methodology to build ideas of things you're creating in business and life, creativity, and then using the light bulb stands for when you have what the Americans call an aha moment, like a moment of extreme clarity, a moment of greatness, a moment of lightning bulb moment. There's a lot of lightning hits you and you're like, wow, sort of light bulb moment. So, and when you have the ideas, you can build in a kind of really sort of efficient way and simple way. I always say in business, try and do stuff efficiently, simply, and you will win. Don't try and make stuff too complicated. So Lean Light Bulb stands for being efficient, basically. So when you're building anything, just make it simple and effective. Don't make it too complex and then see what people say. And if you build traction, great. If you don't, be able to be flexible to adapt, to move to where the audience is or the people are that you're trying to capture as clients. That's kind of the purpose of Lean Light Bulb. To encourage people to build, have a group of builders, not a group of talkers. Have a group of builders who can just come together and build stuff and support one another. So that channel should be up still. Go and check it out and support it. We haven't really posted much on it. We've posted a few things in private that we've used in hackathons and stuff, but our first community meetup hasn't happened. But go and check it out. Subscribe to that. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to our music channel 48B1T, which is kind of cool. 48-bit with a 1 instead of an I. And hope you've been enjoying the music to that channel. And let's cut to some more right now as we do some more breathing. So watching the old series of Batman, the very first series, and sadly the voice actor who's one of the legendary Batman characters, a lot of people see him as a Batman actor because he's the voice actor, but he was so good in this series. Sadly, he passed away. A lot of young people grew up watching, a lot of adults watch the series. It's really, really well written, really well made. The first series of Batman animated, it's on Prime, so check it out. And I had a bit of pasta left over, but I didn't have enough for a plate of pasta, so I decided to just experiment, and I used a stock cube, and I thickened it, and I added some noodles, some really thin noodles, and some vegetables, and I've turned this into a kind of a soup, which looks pretty decent, actually. I wonder what it tastes like. Looks great, right? Just experimenting. Some cheap meals, and yeah, so that's basically what I've made, and I'm just having it with some toasted sort of doorstop bread, like thick toast. Some bread was on offer, so I got the thick one. It's always good to put bread in the freezer because it will literally, if it's on offer and you're worried it'll go off, just stick it in the freezer and then just stick it in the toaster and defrost and cook it at the same. Just kind of nice, toast it. Kind of works, and it tastes fresh. If it's in the freezer, it tastes as fresh as the day you kind of made it, I guess. And this is again some black tea with some orange slices in. Just having me dinner, very nice. So I've basically got confirmation that my book that I reserved is here, which is great. It's last year's, but the new one has just come out. They call it 2027, it's just came out. So 2026 I'm happy with. And it's the Writers and Artists Yearbook. And it's I used to buy this all the time when I was an emerging writer. And it's basically a book with all the list of advice on how to get published. This is the main version. I actually bought, a few weeks ago, I bought the children's version for the children's book I'm writing. They have a separate different advice for people writing children's books and stuff, but I've got this is mainly for my non-fiction book and maybe my future sci-fi stuff. The Writers Artists Yearbook, I'm so lucky that they, instead of spending another 28 quid, I could just borrow the last year's model, which just literally changed last week, so it's still valid, I would say. And using that and online research, I can probably get some good advice on how to get an agent. I'm trying to get an agent for my non-fiction books and any other books I'm writing in the future. So gonna head off to the library and pick that up. It's a blazing hot day. It's like 30 something degrees today. Fantastic. 30 something degrees. The lift is still broken, so how do I manage this? Get a book and do some work, eh? Literally is blistering hot. I think it's like 30 degrees or 32. And only mad dogs and Englishmen, eh? And we're out in the midday sun. Absolutely mad. Absolutely mad. But nice weather. Absolute zonking hot, but we had to get pasta and we found a deal on mustard, which I need because I love mustard and I'm always running out of it. Grab some coffee and then I'll show you what I got from the library. So it's really great that I got these books. I mean, I went in, as I said, for the Writers and Artists Yearbook, which gives you help on finding an agent. Look how thick it is. I mean, this year I think it's like 30 quid to get it. Quite expensive. I mean, some bookshops, they'll do it for just slightly less, but ultimately pretty expensive. And I managed to get one of my favourite stories, Scarlet Pimpernel, and one of my other favourite stories, Lord of the Rings, because I want to read. Because I'm writing, the best way I found to write screenplays is to read screenplays and get used to how other people write screenplays, but also have your own style. And I think the same with books. I mean, it's good to read the classics, like, Scarlet Pimpernel's very old story. If you haven't seen the films, they're really good, the old ones. Black and white films are really, really funny, really, really good. I think Leslie Howard stars as the Pimpernel. Fantastic. Raymond Massey, I think, plays the villain. Fantastic, acting, the old actors in the old days. And obviously Lord of the Rings needs no introduction. But the Writer's Artist Yearbook, the irony is this one's a 2026 one. And it comes out every year, sort of July time. And luckily for me, the 2027 edition just came out. So normally you're not allowed to take them out of the library. This wasn't even in my local library. It was in the one that they always send it to for reference only. But luckily, the new one, 2027, has just come out. It's not even been released in the library. But that allowed this one to be freed up to be borrowed, which I've done. And it's only, the new one's only been out for a week. So I can use this with the internet and that should give me the same benefit. I mean, if you have a look, there's also, it refers to the children's version that I told you, this little green thing. It's a children's version, which I think is a bit of a joke. I mean, I believe in the old days they used to write a children's section for children's book publishing and stuff. And I think they just realised, the children's one is quite thin. They just realised, we can make a double whammy and make another wad of cash by releasing that separately. Here it is. This is the one that I bought. Basically, this is what the latest version should be like, but for this one should be obviously 2027, and it's okay. But ultimately, it's a good investment for me. But ultimately, I probably could have just ordered the 2026 and done my research online. But anyway, we are where we are. I've reached out to a few agents already. Look forward to reading these guides today and sending out some feelers for my non-fiction coaching book. I'm looking to do the second book of the series, maybe refining the first, expanding it somewhat. And I kind of need an agent to give me some guidance. I don't really want to publish it under my own publishing company anymore. I kind of want to do it under, having had the Amazon fiasco, I kind of want to have I kind of want an agent to take. I mean, you may not make as much money, but at least you have more reach and more credibility if you have a publisher, real well-known publisher on board, and they'll take care of all the marketing and all that stuff. So I think it's important. So that's where we are. Managed to get these today. Really happy I got the Writer's Artist Yearbook. Saved me 30 quid. Fantastic. Got some pasta. We're going to go with that in a bit for lunch. And let's get back to work.
Once upon a time, there was a guy called Louis who decided to buy a massive anchor for his boat. He hauled it onto his little wooden boat and rowed out to open water. It cost him a fortune, but he was immensely proud of it. But soon the boat began to sink under the weight. Water started pouring over the sides. A passing sailor yelled out, "Cut the rope, mate! Dump this anchor! It's way too big for your boat." But he refused. "Are you mad?" he shrieked. "Do you know how much I paid for this? If I throw it away now, I'm taking on a massive loss." The captain shook his head. "You already took on the loss when you bought the anchor, way too heavy for your boat. Right now, you're just deciding whether to drown with it." The lad looked at the rising water in panic, grabbing his shears, finally severed the rope. The heavy iron sank to the very bottom of the ocean, gradually. And hit the floor with a thunk. And the boat instantly floated back to the surface. Moral of the story. Holding on to a losing asset out of pride won't make it float. So cut the rope, take the hit, and keep your boat moving. So, just a little bit more around this whole sort of feeling that one gets when they're trying to get rid of something that's actually quite important to them. Effectively, it's the core mechanics of something called loss theory. So in behavioral economics, pioneered by Kahneman and Tversky in prospect theory, human psychology handles losses and gains in different ways. So pillar A, loss aversion, the pain asymmetry. So psychologically, the pain of losing $100 is twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining $100. So I mean, this is the reality of why people hold on to losing investments, toxic projects that they want to get rid of, or unused cameras. The brains are wired to avoid the feeling of pain, of loss, even though keeping the asset may be actively hurting them in the short term. Pillar B, the sunk cost trap. So ego versus the maths, you know. So the concept is conflating price versus value. So just because you paid a high value for something in the past, high price for something in the past, doesn't mean it carries value today. In reality, holding on to an asset after it's depreciated is not saving money. It's basically you're paying a daily tax of anxiety and locked up capital that could be deployed elsewhere, right? And pillar C, the opportunity cost, the invisible bleed. So the concept, the true cost of a bad asset isn't just the money lost. It's the other opportunity cost that you've missed, because your resource and energy are trapped. So the reality, a camera sitting on a shelf isn't, or a tripod in my case, isn't just losing cash value. It's preventing me from having the liquid capital to go out and meet investors, find people to support the film, even fund hackathon work that will generate capital for the film, build apps that will generate capital for the film, even buy food for the week, you know? So it has a real cost. Why it's hard to cut losses, it's because human psychology is broken. Loss theory proves we feel the pain of a loss twice as hard as the joy of a win. So what do? We hide from the pain. We keep the camera in the box. We stay in the bad deal. We keep chasing the wrong pitch deck, all to avoid admitting that we've taken a hit. But here's the truth. You took the hit the day you bought the thing. So holding on to it just locks you in a cage. So cut the losses, take the cash, and buy your momentum back. Clear the space for something new to be attracted into your life. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. In honor of Kavinsky, we're actually going to do a second synth track, something I created, because he was a legend and I don't need to excuse that. Absolute cinema. Uncle Unlimited!